George Zimmerman's fate ultimately lies with a jury of 6 women. By this time tomorrow, they will likely already be in deliberations. Joining me outside now at the courthouse in Sanford, Florida, is MSNBC's Craig Melvin. Craig, so much drama in that courtroom. How did the jury react to the state's closing argument today?
Yeah, Reverend, this is something that we've been keeping a close look at on over the past few weeks as this trial has gone on. We can tell you that the jurors were taking far fewer notes than they typically do. This has been a jury that has sort of prided itself on taking copious notes. Not so much today. The jurors seem to be quite engaged, listening instead of writing down. Something else we should note here, Reverend, I don't know if a lot of folks have realized this, but tomorrow, before that jury starts deliberations, 3 of them are going to get a big surprise. There are 9 of them right now in the box. Before they begin their deliberations, Judge Nelson is going to say to 3 of them, "Thank you for your service." She'll identify them by number. She'll thank them for their service, and then she will excuse them. Those will be the 3 who are alternates, who do not know they are alternates right now.
All right, MSNBC's Craig Melvin, thanks. And let's go back with let's go back through some of the key testimony. Let's go there first. Back with me for that, Faith Jenkins, John Burris, Ken Padowitz, and Marsha Clark. A big part of the state's case is disproving Zimmerman's claim that Trayvon Martin covered his mouth.
This photograph the defense keeps parading. Recall what I did? I said, what do you expect? Blood. And I'm going to show you the photographs. Not just at the medical examiners because they're saying, oh, that Dr. Bao, he's incompetent, he didn't know what he was doing. No, I'm going to show you the photographs at the scene, which show what? No blood in his hands. Now they're going to say, oh, it was raining that night. Wow. And I guess the blood on the defendant's head just stuck there, right? But on the victim, they just kind of vanished.
Ken, how crucial is this argument today?
I think it's very good. He's being very sarcastic, which I sometimes do in front of a jury, but I think it's real. It comes across to the jury like, this is so unbelievable. And it is. It's unbelievable that the blood stays on Zimmerman's head, but it gets washed off in the rain allegedly on the hands of Trayvon Martin. It doesn't make sense. Common sense and life experience for the people in that jury are going to say, that doesn't make sense. Zimmerman's not telling us the truth here. And that's the web of lies theme that the prosecution is hammering away. You can't believe this guy, and if you can't believe him, you can't believe this self-defense. So it's very crucial, very good point for the prosecution.
Now, one thing that during the trial we'll remember is the pathologist testified that Zimmerman's injuries were consistent with his story. Faith, let me play that to you.
Is this injury consistent with Mr. Zimmerman's head having impacted a sidewalk?
Yes, you can see there's a swelling right here. It's very prominent. It's just below the area where he's got a small abrasion.
Is the injury you see in this exhibit consistent, this exhibit 79, consistent with having been punched in the nose?
Yes, sir. The physical evidence is consistent with Mr. Martin being over Mr. Zimmerman.
So, Faith, how important is that?
Well, here's the deal. George Zimmerman said he was hit in the face 25 to 30 times. His head was repeatedly slammed against the concrete. And then look at his injuries. His injuries speak for themselves. He refused medical attention the night of this incident. He got 2 Band-Aids on the back of his head, no stitches, no sutures. We still don't know the exact damage to his nose because he did not go to the doctor to find out if he had a diagnosis of whether it was fractured or broken because he didn't feel that he needed the medical attention. The bottom line is he did not have significant injuries. He had minor injuries, completely inconsistent with the story and the level of beating that he said that he took from Trayvon Martin. That's a problem for him here.
John Burris?
I agree with that. I mean, part of this whole notion about for the prosecution's case is that he claims that he was severely injured and beaten, so that therefore he was within an inch of his life of severely about to receive great bodily injury, so therefore he had to use deadly force. But what if that's not true? What if he overreacted? What if he thought he was more injured than he was, than in fact he wasn't, or he decided that he had had enough, and essentially he was in the middle of a fight and he brings out a gun, and so therefore you easily get the manslaughter, but you also can, in fact, given the mental state that he had before, you might very well push your way into the second-degree murder. The point is, it's a significant lie in terms of an exaggeration of his injuries. It is not consistent with someone who was getting ready to receive great bodily injuries.
Marsha, if you listen to another of the witnesses, the lead investigator in the case, he testified he thought Zimmerman was exaggerating about those injuries. Listen to this.
Now, you said in response to a question from Mr. Delaionde yesterday that you perceived Mr. Zimmerman's injuries to be minor, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were asked specifically about exaggeration. Did you feel he had exaggerated the manner in which he was hit?
Yes, sir.
How important is that, Marsha?
Oh, that's so critical. To me, I have to say, even more than all the other lies, and there are some pretty big ones there, this one about the injuries is the most critical, because it shows you an effort to, it actually shows to me consciousness of guilt. I'm going to have to say that I was really getting that tar beat out of me, because otherwise I can't justify having shot this kid. And to the extent, and this is so verifiable, you can look at him. Look at him. He had, like Faith said, 2 bandages on the back of his head. You know, come on. He walked away without it and refusing all medical attention, and then claims that he was beaten repeatedly with his head slammed into the pavement. I mean, nobody buys
Marsha,
that.
It makes
important. And by the way,
Marsha, if he's Superman. If he's Superman, then he has no injuries. So that's where it makes sense. Or George Zimmerman
had no
is lying.
kryptonite,
He's not just exaggerating.
Right. Therefore, without kryptonite, Trayvon couldn't have won. But I think it's really also significant. Don't forget the pathologist who testified for the prosecution and said, I find these injuries to be insignificant, and more than that, also consistent with a single blow, that he could have fallen and made all of these injuries at the same time, which means that all of this scenario about pounding his head into the ground, which, by the way, I never bought from day one, none of the injuries fit that, which is something else I wanted to say. Yesterday, when they were doing a demonstration with the dummy, if you recall, John Guy, the prosecutor, showed himself straddling the dummy and used the dummy for the purpose of showing position, which was really good. I think a really good graphic way of showing how could possibly it have gone down the way George Zimmerman said. And then Mark O'Mara gets on top of that dummy, which weighs about maybe 5 pounds, and starts pounding it into the ground to show how George Zimmerman's head could have been pounded. I hope somebody pointed out the fact that that dummy weighs 5 pounds and George Zimmerman weighed 200, and you don't pound a person that way.
But also,
just a second, John, go ahead quickly.
I was going to say that you also got to look at how he was moving around when the police arrived. He wasn't stumbling, falling. All of his gait was perfectly normal. This is not a person who had been pounded into the cement, because he would have been dizzy or something.
And he did not ask for medical attention.
And he didn't ask for medical treatment.
His state of mind was that he didn't even think he had injuries, one could argue. Panel, please stay with us. Much more after the break. Stay with us.